Today, we're going to resurrect this 2000 Sportster 1200 Custom named Jezebel. We're going to give it a thorough wash, rebuild the carburetor, put in some spark plugs and a battery, see if we can get it started and back on the road. It's a lot. Stay with me. So now we give it a thorough wash. There's a few things that I really want you to know as you go to do something like this. I'm going to be using a low pressure power washer, if you could call it that. It's not an extremely high-end industrial power washer, but a light, small electric one. I recommend that. You do not want to force pressurized water against the gaskets that are only made to hold out, say, 30 pounds max, or maybe no pounds at all on some of the oil gaskets, just stuff sitting behind it. It'll push water into the gaskets. Second thing is, we want to cover up any openings, like this carburetor being gone. I just put some painter's tape over the top of that just to try to keep the water from coming in. I put a set of spark plugs in this. It's been sitting for a long time with no spark plugs in it, and I'm not showing it, but I already put Marvel mystery oil down both the cylinders when I brought the bike in. Cleaners. Now, you should know these are good cleaners, right? 409 Simple Green, but I wouldn't use them on a bike, especially not in an initial cleaning situation. I use Dawn dish soap and water in a spray bottle. The reason why is Simple Green Purple Power will etch the aluminum on the bike. Some finishes will never be the same if you leave it sit on there for very long. My recommendation, if you want to preserve a bike, the finishes on an old bike like this one, Dawn dish soap is about as simple as it can be. What did I hear somebody say? If it's good enough for baby ducks, it's probably good enough for what we need. So we'll use this Dawn dish soap solution. So we're going to get this bike out, put it in the driveway, and give it a gentle cleaning. It's been 10 years since this bike was cleaned, and it looks like it's been 10 years. And we don't want to ruin it if we're just trying to get it clean so we can work on it. So we've cleaned it up and we're blown away. It's great. In fact, it's better than I could have possibly imagined. Whoever had this bike before this bike was parked loved this bike, and it's obvious. The paint is immaculate. It doesn't have one chip, blemish, anything. It's absolutely beautiful. This is just a wash with Dawn soap. We haven't even polished the motorcycle, and it is absolutely gorgeous front to back. And something that I've noticed as I've gone through the box of parts that I got with this bike is there are no breather bolts. We went to the Harley dealer and they tell me, the parts people at the Harley dealer, you may know different, throw it in the comment. The people at the Harley dealer said they're obsolete. Then they started looking through their secondary, suppliers, their aftermarket. They can't find them. So I don't have them in my boxes of parts that I have because everybody tore these things off. That was the first thing you did. When you got one of these, you said goodbye because it's ugly and it doesn't flow right. Everybody tore them off. We're going to make breather bolts. So that's the list of to-do, okay? We've got to clean the tank, put fresh fuel in it. We need to put a fuel filter in it. We need to rebuild the carburetor, take it apart, clean it, put the right part, put good parts back in it if it needs it. We need to put a battery in it. We need to put spark plugs in it. When we get all that done, we're gonna come back, we're gonna turn the key, and we're gonna see if we have spark. So here we are. We first cleaned the tank, and here's the good fuel. I took a little sample through the petcock when we tested it to make sure it was working. And here is the old fuel. You see how much darker that is. So this gold color kind of looks like beer, I guess, a pretty heavy beer, but then this one is what it's supposed to look like. So that's what happens after years. Second, took the carburetor completely apart, replaced this accelerator pump diaphragm and the float bowl gasket. You'll find that these tend to swell up after years and get hard to get them to seal back up. So that's been replaced and it's been cleaned top to bottom, and we verified that the CV is working the way it's supposed to work. So that done. Last thing was the breather bolts. And while we're doing this, let's just get started here. So the breather bolts were something that I really kind of came up with as I was kind of like, what are we gonna do? You know, we can't get them, and I want to do this, and I want to get it done. So we just kind of went for it and drilled holes in them, put steps in them so the oil doesn't come back up through them. I think they ought to work just fine, actually. And we'll put these carb throttle on. This is always kind of a tight procedure, but can be done. There we go. Let's tighten these up a little bit so that we're lengthening them out a little. We can go ahead and set this throttle right now, because we can feel these when you tighten or lengthen this out right here. Okay, you got to get them to where there's just a tiny bit of play. See them moving? Okay, that's an initial adjustment. We put on this vacuum line for the hose system, and we slip the carburetor in here. Wait, Mark. Gotta put fuel line on or it's not gonna work. Probably ought to do that. See this over here? I use these clamps. You know, I have used just zip ties, like heavy zip ties that really got them tight. I've actually got those on my bike and they're working great. And they're a lot easier than this old school clamp, but I think maybe the clamp is maybe a little more certain, you know. Either way. Now we'll push the carb back into the intake seal. Take this back of the air cleaner here. You know what I'm gonna have to do. I'm gonna have to put these bolts in first and hold these. So we've got sealing washers on the back side and the front side of these bolts. We'll do it this way. That way we don't lose those sealing washers. Now those bolts are just standard 1/2-inch coarse thread bolts, and if you're going to try to do this, okay, you've got to you're going to need to not get high grade bolts, get the lowest grade bolts you can, because boy, if you try with grade 8 bolts, you're not going to be able to drill them. It's pretty hard with these. Got to lubricate them a lot. So there's that, there's that. These are started. All right, that's tight. These are clear through and they're stepped on the back side so that if any oil happened to hit them, it's gonna run back out, back into the engine. All right, air cleaner. I guess they call that air filter in Harley. That's what parts people at Harley told me. Alrighty. Oh, dropped that one, didn't I? So there we are, the carburetor's on, the air cleaner's on, the new breather bolts are in, the tank is clean. I tested the VOS system. It works. VOS system is a system where the gas won't turn on unless there's vacuum in the intake. So that was required by the government, I think after 1984, I think was when. Best guess. Put it in the comments if you know for sure. Now, battery, spark plugs, and we're getting close to being able to start it. So the carb's on, the battery's in, spark plugs are in it. It's got fresh fuel. I know the petcock works as it should. We got everything hooked up. We don't have any fire, no smoke. Those are all good things. So let's turn the key on and see where we land. Okay. One turn signal out, but we have a headlight. It's in neutral, says it has no oil pressure. Turn on the fuel. So I didn't check spark. I've rolled it, I know it has compression. I did the carb, I'm almost certain it's right. I set this mixture screw to 1 3/4 turns, which is my standard. So here we go. This bike is badass, man. Listen to this. Woo! Man, I love a 1200 Sportster Custom. Wow! That bike is badass. Let's get it out and take it for a ride. So let's take it out for a ride. 10 years. Let's take it out for its first ride in 10 years. So here we are. in the driveway at my garage after the first ride in 10 years, the first start in 10 years. This bike rides better the longer I ride it. I'm going to put some miles on it, tune it up, fix whatever needs to be fixed, and we're going to give this bike back to its rightful owner. I'll see you next time on Vintage Harleys Revive.